Welcome! We are going to be doing a little video tutorial on this new double hoop project. If you've never done a double hoop project before, you'll find some fabric in your kit. This fabric has kind of a stretchy, yours is not going to be this color. I just don't have the right color in stock right this second for the video. So the printed fabric that I get is not stretchy enough to be able to do this double hoop configuration. So unfortunately, if you want to have printed fabric, you cannot do the double hoop. There are options for doing a double hoop where you don't have to trace. Some people like the printable stabilizer. Some people do other things that I can't think of right now. Okay, so real quickly, because I do have another tutorial for how to do this setup. First, you're gonna do your middle hoop. I'm probably gonna regret having this seam right down the center. So middle hoop first. These are the bamboo hoops, so they're all right. You can see they're gonna look like this. They're not the best, but they work for these. If you have any stray bits like this you want to sand or spruce up a little bit ahead of time, there's also going to be this really annoying sticker on the bottom. I recommend taking care of that sooner than later. You can see on mine I still need to peel it off. I don't know why they did that. Anyways, okay, getting distracted. All right, so for the larger hoop, I put the center hoop down first. Now I have this centered on top. You can see, you can't see my screw anymore. I flipped it upside down. And then we're gonna do this on top. Sorta, kinda. And as much as you can, try to get that center hoop centered for this project. It doesn't have to be perfect though. You can see I also kind of have an excessively large piece of fabric I'm using right now. Tightening here and just continuing to go around and tug and pull to get all of those little creases out. And it may take a little time, may take a little tweaking. And actually sometimes at the very end when we cut the hole out and pull from this end, some of these will go away too. So that's the basics of how to get started with that. I would definitely not use this much fabric. For the template, you're going to have something like this. I just cut mine out and tape it on the back like this. And then do my tracing from the front. Usually I go up against a bright window. That's how I do it. There's lots of other ways. And then finally, when you are all done and you're going to cut a hole in the center, you're going to trim the edges. So what I do is this kind of lacing technique. You can also use glue if you like. One point, so you can see here, this little dimple is where we have this gap from the center hoop. So what I do is I come in with a tiny little paintbrush or a tiny little wood stick, toothpick, that's what they're called, and just add a couple dabs of fabric glue in there. And then I kind of loosen this. It's a little awkward. And then I kind of shimmy it if it's loose enough. I made it rather tight. Okay, and then I shimmy it. There we go. So see, so then wherever I put the glue is clamped down by this. Let it dry, however long it says to let it dry. Once it's dry, I shimmy back to the glued part, and I have something like this. You can see mine's not perfect, but that's where I put the glue right there. So I might come in and add a little more. I don't know. We'll see. But that's the general idea on how to to deal with the dent. So you can see there's 3 separate motifs on this design. You could use them separately, or obviously like how it is set out here. Each motif has the same elements, so I'm actually going to do a mini version that looks like this. It's so tiny. You can even like put it in the center if you want. How about that? So yeah, let's go stitch. All right, so there's obviously lots of overlapping elements, and it's going to be up to you to decide what you like to do first, if you like to do the objects in the back or the objects in the front, or a mix between the two. I started with the orange slices on mine for whatever reason. That's just what I decided to do, so that's where we'll start today. So I have this off-white, and I'm going to fill the center with satin stitch. Really doesn't matter what stitch direction you use. I did horizontal just because that's what just felt right. Okay, I made a little circle. Then we're going to continue with this thread and do the spokes using split stitch. We're also going to do this initial outline with split stitch as well. Kind of a wonky slice here. That wasn't really a split stitch, was it? I'm going to switch to back split stitch because it's easier. Twisty knot on the back I can feel. on. No, it wants to just be there forever. I think I did about 2 thicknesses for this outer section here. Made a hole. We don't want that. Sorry, I'm not very talkative with my embroidery today. We've been sick. A little bit low energy. Okay, I'm just gonna come up here and wait because we're gonna use more of that. Alright, so I've got the lighter orange here and we're gonna just come in and do some stitches towards the center of the slice on each little segment. And it's okay if you go over a little bit on your that off-white color. So I came back in with it once I was done with all the orange. Just kind of redraw those spokes. I tried it both ways. Like I tried just doing the orange first, but then I couldn't see where the spokes were supposed to be at all. So this was kind of my happy medium, is doing them first, even though they might get kind of covered. So you can see the stitch direction is just all pointing towards the center, just kind of following along with the spokes. So this is essentially thread painting here. My stitches aren't really splitting each other at this point. This is kind of like the first row. And there's only enough room really for 2 rows, so but you can see right now it looks not good. Hey, Princess Cook. Princess Cook is here. Hi. Also known as Murph, because that's one of the sounds she makes. Hey, Murph. She's got a very squeaky meow. And sometimes she tries to meow and nothing comes out. And we call that mouth noise, because it's just like, Cook, stop running into that. It's just like the sound of her mouth opening and goes, stop it. Get out of here, you goof. Come here. Over here. Rub on my leg, not on the camera. She's very sweet. But she's also really mean. Because she's a tortie. She's tortoiseshell. They are known to be, well, they kind of have a little attitude. Right now she's chewing on some stuff. She's removing labels from something. She's trying to get in trouble. Any attention, right? It can be good, it can be bad. It's just as long as there's attention given to me, I am fine. Kind of relatable. Anyways, so yeah, so at this stage of what we're doing here, it doesn't really look great. That's okay. So if you're doing it at home and you're like, oh my gosh, this does not look good, just keep going. Because look, mine doesn't look good right now either. I may even add more stitches to the center because I feel like I have like a little bit of a gap there, and it's like especially noticeable because you can see the pen, which is darker. All right. I have the darker orange, and we are going to, we'll start over here so we don't have a flower in the way, but I'm trying to come up through the light orange stitches. So that stitch I just did, it didn't pierce. It went in between, which is fine. It's better if you can actually pierce the previous stitches. And you can also see that as I do that, I'm covering up some of that light orange, right? So kind of need to consider that when you're doing that first color, knowing that it's going to get trimmed, I guess. So let's say you wanted the color transition to be at like the exact halfway point between here and here. That light orange, you want to make sure you stitch it over that halfway point, right? Because as I do this, I'm kind of cutting back into the top of those light orange stitches. How are we doing? Are we good? I don't think I need to go all the way around. I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. So I will finish this one. So one trick I use is I push from below and see where I'm pushing. And that helps me see like where the gaps are. So here I can see there's a hole here I need to fill. I think that's like probably the biggest thing with doing any kind of thread painting is like making sure you're filling in all those gaps, assuming that's like the look you're going for. I've seen some really cool stuff where people do thread painting with the background showing through, the background fabric showing through on purpose. But in this case, having the blue show through is kind of distracting from the whole picture. So get in there. See, there's a tiny little hole here I need to get. Feel like there's one right up here. Okay, So I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna tie off my orange. And I'm gonna come back with this white as promised. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here because, like I said, I feel like this could use a little sprucing up. Where am I going? What am I doing? I'm just trying to reshape a little bit here. So now it's kind of turning more into a padded satin stitch, right? Because I have a couple layers going on. And that's fine. That's kind of the fun thing about thread painting is we can, layer it like paint, right? So I'm just trying to reshape that a little bit. Make sure it didn't get lost under there. And then as needed, we can come and go over these stitches. And I feel like here it's kind of hiding. And then what I also did is I kind of rounded the segments. So at each corner, kind of added like a little bit of a stitch here and a stitch here, to kind of round each little, what is this, orange segment. And that's optional. You don't have to do that. You don't have to add those. But if you want to, you absolutely can. Okay. So while I have this thread, this isn't like the order I did this in, but I added little white flowers. So these little white flowers and then these little French knots are not indicated on the template. You can add them anywhere you want. You can add them to hide mistakes. You can just add them where you feel like it. And basically we just make like a little star with straight stitches. I did 5 like so. They're just so cute. So that's where those come from while we're here. All right, now what? Let's do this one. Okay. So that one we're gonna start with a black in the center. Again, it doesn't really matter what stitch direction you use. You can see I do like to start mine in the center, because then at least I can more easily maintain the same stitch direction as I fill up and as I fill down. Black is really interesting because it's very hard to see the stitch direction. That looks like the right shape. All right, and then we've got this nice, I don't know what color this is, but it's nice. And we're just gonna do satin stitch for all these petals. Very similar, like how we did the orange. That stitch direction is just gonna go like radial from the center, like sunshine. Aww. I have white fuzz back there. wants to start a fight with me. So these petals are kind of fun. If you want to give them a little bit of boom, you can come in their needle underneath and kind of give them a little poof. Of course, we're going to come in with a black down the center of each one, which might unpoof them. So I don't know how important that is to do. So make sure, I didn't mention it in advance, but make sure you are looking at the instructions and seeing the recommended numbers of strands to use. For example, I'm using 3 right now, so not a full 6, but just half that. At any time, of course, you're free to do something else. It's just suggestions, and just so you know what I used. This project has, well, some stuff is done with a full strand, some is done with a half strand. I mean, like 3. Some with 2, and then I also use a single strand for some stuff, so lots of variety. Okay. I feel like you know where this is going, so I'm going to tie off. And just with the black, so on each petal I just came up. If you can actually split a stitch, that's weird because I split a stitch, but it's also kind of splitting between stitches. So when you go up in between stitches, you can see how it kind of like creates this cleavage. I wish I had a better word for that, but I can't think of one. So if you actually split a stitch or even a single ply, you don't have as much of that. And be gentle when you come down. So if you pull too tight, which I will demo, tight, it kind of disappears in there, which actually that's not horrible. Versus if you're more gentle, you're going to have a more bold line. So it's kind of, so there's loose, there's tight. So whatever vibe you like. Okay, what should we do now? Maybe the big rose. How about that? All right, so we're using this, what is this color? I don't know. We're going to start with a lazy daisy in the center. So I got detached chain stitches here. And it's really up to you how many petals you need to fill the space. 5 more, whatever. It just kind of adds an interesting texture to the center of the roses. I'm fighting with something. I don't care. Okay, I need to care. What's the orange from here that I cut? Let's see. Oh yeah, made a big ball of angry back there. Sometimes I feel like a big ball of angry. There's that angry again. That's just what the center of my rose is gonna look like. So whenever I film, I use this clamp that I have. It's not an official embroidery hoop stand. I find all the ones that I've tried have been like wobbly and they make me angry. So I'm using like a vise, and the problem with it is that it's not easy to look at the bottom of your hoop. There's no like flip around option. So I can't see what's going on back there unless I get on the floor and like look up, and there's no light. So, okay, so while I have this, I'm going to put some French knots in the center here of my, this will be my open woven wheel rose. So French knots, you can do a single wrap. I'm going to do a double wrap and go down near where I just came up. I draw that wrap to the surface of my fabric and then pull through. And I'm just going to fill the center with these. If you're not into French knots, you can definitely do anything else. I mean, you can do a lazy daisy in the middle of these. You could do colonial knots. You can do beads. You can just not have them be open and have them be just regular woven wheel roses. Whatever you're feeling. And then like those small white flowers, this is the thread you're going to use to add the little French knots sprinkled about. So again, put them wherever. I'm just going to throw one right here. Why not? Okay, so then we're going to do this rose, and we're using these two colors that are pretty similar. Oops. And you'll notice, what will you notice? Let's see, I can't really see what I did here. I don't know if that's actually what the rose looks like, but it doesn't really matter. Excuse me. Okay. So basically, each little petal segment, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments here. Each one's going to be like a different color, in theory. I mean, between the two colors, so we can't get too fancy here. I'm just going to start stitching. I just picked this one for whatever reason. So what I'm trying to say... Okay, hold on. Maybe I should have waited till I was feeling a little better before I did a video tutorial. So I have too many things I want to tell you at once. Okay, so stitch direction for these. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. So I don't know why I pick what I pick. It's just like what I feel like doing. I know that's like horrible instruction. Like, what? How do you teach someone what feels right? I think part of it is like, okay, this part's pointy, so I want the point of my straight stitches to go that way. So that's kind of how I choose. And then when I'm choosing like the stitch direction around this petal that I started with, I'll probably want to choose something different so that they stand out from each other. And when you're deciding which color to use, you can absolutely use the photo of the sample hoop as a guide. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it doesn't matter. You're just using these two colors. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference which color goes where. And you can see how I'm kind of changing my stitch direction a little bit as I move around the petal shape. Just how it's turning out. Let's see. Let's go this way. This is the other color. So, and you can also see I'm using a full 6 ply of my 6-stranded thread here. So we have a lot of volume going on. And for these, like, I'm okay adding stitches on top. Like, I noticed I had a weird little bump there, so I'm like, all right, we'll add another stitch on top. Lots of volume. If you hate it, if you're not a fan of using this much thread, you can definitely drop down. You can use 3 strands like we did for the orange flower. You can use less. Okay, so for this petal here, I can do either color. I'm gonna go this way with this one. You can see that this flower in the center obviously is going to get covered a little bit at the corners. And you can see there's some fabric showing, which, like, I don't mind. If you do mind, you can definitely go in and just add like some straight stitches or some French knots or whatever with the, whatever that color is, the yellowy greeny color. Okay, so now I need to do this big guy here. And so here, it's a little weird, right? So I have that the rose is overlapping the orange, but under, is it under or over? I don't even know. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. So if you're in a situation where you're working on the project and like these petals need to be on top of these petals, but like that's not working, then don't do it like that. Like, make this petal on top instead, because it's probably what's going to be easier. But let's see. We'll see what we can do. They just kind of look like they're butting up against each other. Round that out, and there's a bit over here. I need to trim those little tails that popped through, and then I can come back to the top here. So this is where you might find that you prefer doing like the big red flowers first and then doing things like the orange peels, orange slices. Oh, we didn't finish the orange. We didn't do the, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. We didn't do the outline. But I could see a case for doing these big red flowers first and then doing things behind it after. It's really up to you, like how you prefer to stitch and what looks best when you do it. I'm playing a little bit of thread chicken here. I think we're gonna make it. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna make it. Look at that. Wow. Alright, let me trim these little guys. And so then the last petal's here. I don't know, what do we want to do for stitch direction? I kind of want to go in there, I think. That's, I think, my pointiest point. Although it's very similar to the stitch direction, which, yeah, it's alright. Well, nothing's gonna change. Okay, continue, etc. Oh my backside is getting tired of sitting. Okay, I totally forgot to do this, so let's do this real quick. We're gonna just do a whipped back stitch. So we start with our back stitch all the way around. If you're working on the project and you get stuck at any time or have any questions, send me an email. I can help. Send me a picture. It's even more helpful. If you can make your back stitches more even, like closer in size, that would be better than how I'm doing it. Okay, so then to whip it, you just go under, I'm gonna go under each one. We're not piercing the fabric. Don't pull too tight. If you want, you can go backwards with your needle like this, eye first. Because then you know you won't pierce anything. Except maybe your finger when you push it through. My floss tends to get all twisty when I do this, so if you need to let it hang and untwist with gravity, please do. I actually started this project last year. I'm trying to think. I don't know where it is. And I can't remember if it was a wreath at first or not. it's gone through some changes. I put it down, and when I came back to it, I went with a completely different fabric, and I don't know what else I changed, but sometimes things just need to rest. All right, so that's our whipped back. And let's see, what else do we need to do? We need to do our wheel here. So that's with a full strand. So we want 5 spokes. And then you're going to come up somewhere along the center here. And we're going to do our weaving over, under, just over under the spokes again, not piercing our fabric. And depending on your tension, you'll have a nice puffy rose, or maybe a not so puffy rose. So just go around as many times as it takes to cover those spokes. And then you can just go down with your thread. What I like to do is then kind of come in and help shape with some stitches around the outside like that. I was able to tuck in that bit that was sticking out. They always just feel a little bit more sturdy to me after I do this. And you can help if the shape kind of isn't as round as you'd like it to be. So, yay, that's that. So I guess we'll do the berries. I'll get this out of my way. So the berries are kind of like the big rose in the sense that there's 2 colors. It's really up to you which color you use where. I did the lighter color in general on the more foreground berries. And it's just satin stitch again. There's nothing new. They're kind of tricky because, you know, in theory they're a perfect circle, and I'm like, okay, good luck making a perfect circle. And we're using all this thread, so they can be a little tricky to get right. And you can do this trick again where we kind of come in and poof them up a little bit if needed. And if we decide, you know, I want this a little bigger, I want another stitch over the top to maybe smooth it out. So you can, I mean, this cannot, you know, sometimes doing this kind of thing, you can keep going and going and going forever because it's never going to be perfect. But get it to a place where you're like, all right, that looks like a round thing. And then for my other color, I'm going to come in and as far as stitch direction goes, whatever you want. Whatever's comfortable. And again, we're dealing with this overlap here on the orange. So what would you want to stitch first? The berries or the orange? goes the scissors on the floor. I don't know what's going to be best for you. Like, I feel like maybe the berries would be better right now. I don't know what to do. Because sometimes it can be hard to stitch on top of stitches. Oops. Kind of looks like a berry. Okay. So the leaves for those are just with a full strand and satin again. And these, if you want, they are indicated on the template. If you know, especially if you're like tracing by hand, I don't think you really need to add them. You can just kind of, when you're done, come in and fill in any gaps with them. Like, let's say we don't want to finish the orange and we put one here. Something like that. Or if when we're done, there's like a little, if there's any little gaps, just in general, you can fill in with any of the greens, really. Let's see, what else? What else? I feel like I just want to talk about these leaves and not actually stitch them because they're kind of time consuming. So basically, we're using satin stitch, a single strand, so tiny, tiny, thin, skinny. So it's going to take a little time. So for the stitch direction, you know, at the top I start with just, you know, pointy bits. And as I worked my way down each side, you can see the stitch direction got a little bit more horizontal. You can keep it more angled. It's faster if you keep it more angled. And then for the stem and the vein, I used the green that we just used for the berry leaves, but just a single strand. So this is just back stitch and back stitch going up the vein. And then I added some straight stitches right on top, more towards the bottom of each leaf and towards the center. So up to you how much of that you want to add. Shading, I guess you could call it. Just kind of gives the leaves a little bit more character and life. So let's see. Oh, okay. I forgot to get myself the correct color to do the little mini branched leaf thingies. But basically, so I'm going to use this color because we have it here. These are just like really tiny, poofy leaves. I call it satin stitch that we're using. I'm skipping that one, sorry. So sometimes I'll do like stitch on the left, stitch, sorry, that was stitch on the right, stitch on the left, and then like stitch down the center that covers the two. Like that. Cute. So stitch on the right, and these ones are kind of shorter. Stitch on the right, stitch on the left, and then the stitch down the center that's like a little bit longer on the top and the bottom to make a cute little like leaf. Yeah, let me see if I can fix this one. Stitch on the right, stitch on the left, stitch down the center. Boop. Oh, they're so cute. I just love those. And then if you want, you can leave them without, you just have them like hanging out like that, or if you want to come in and do the little branch that they're on with a single strand, you can do that too. So well, I guess I can do it here. I don't know. Yeah, I guess this is fine. So for the wheat ear stitch that we're going to do for the ferns, let's see, how do I want to do it? Well, I'll do it the way you're supposed to do it. Okay, so I start with anchor stitch at the end, and then we're going to do our reverse chain stitch through that, back down the same hole, and then our 2 straight stitches that go in the same hole, and then we do it again. So we do our reverse chain stitch under that previous chain stitch and those straight stitches, and continue like so. Sometimes I just do a reverse chain stitch and come back and add the straight stitches, which is also fine. Oh, I guess we're only doing 3. That's all that ended up fitting. And if you're working on your project and you find like you need more, you can always just do like a single one. Like it would just be a detached chain stitch like this. Oops. One of those, and then you can come in and add those straight stitches along the side if there's like some kind of weird gap here you want to fill in, like that. So then we come in with this color, and we just add more straight stitches anywhere. You could add one at every single intersection. You can just add one where you want them. You can have them be long. You can have them be short. You can have them be like at that kind of angle. You can have them be at a really dramatic angle like that. You can have them overlapping each other like that. You can have them coming up from over here. So you can make them as full or as sparse as you like. And then for my single one here, I'm just gonna do the same thing, just add them where I feel like adding them. Just get a little bit more green in there, yeah. It's annoying, huh? Okay, we're almost done. So all that's left is the smaller leaves, and they're just fishbone stitch with this color or this color. So you can use the sample hoop to see which ones I made which color, or just do whatever you feel like. I just kind of spread the colors out evenly. Wow, what is going on behind my hoop? It's gotta be real bad. It's gotta be real bad back there. This is why I usually don't use this thing unless I'm filming, but then it just leads to lots of like situations like this. Goodbye. Alright, fishbone. I should put the mini videos for each of these stitches in case you're brand new. I'll just go back and forth on each side. Something like that. Yay, we did it. Now you just have like 15 times that much actual stitching to do, at least. It's a big one. So take your time, have fun. Again, if you get stuck, please reach out by email. I'm happy to help. You can see here the different overlapping. I can always send more pictures too if that will help you. You can see all my little berries. They're clearly not perfect round shapes, and that is fine. You can see here where I added more of the berry leaves to kind of cover up some in-between spaces, and then of course the French knots on top and the little white flowers on top. And here's, let's see, some of that wheat ear stitch. You can see it doesn't even look like wheat ear at the end, right? With all those extra stitches. Here's that little branch, I don't know, leaves, whatever these are. And I don't know what, I think I just did like really long. I think I was in a hurry. I don't even know what's, they're just like straight stitches. It's just like stitch, stitch. Or you can leave them floating. So that's it. Have fun. And yeah, again, reach out anytime if you have questions. I'm happy to help.